Acute radiation syndrome, more commonly known as radioactive poisoning, is similar to slavery. It sucks, cruel as hell, and is one of the many things that humans should never experience, not even once in their lifetime. Now, to fully understand what radiation poisoning is, I'll give you a simple explanation. Radiation. You go near the vicinity of the radiation, and after a certain period of time, depending on how unlucky you are, you might experience organ failure, or get cancer. Or, if you're really lucky, all of these at the same time. In summary, don't go near radiation if you don't want your internal organs to turn into slop. MSV, which stands for millisieverts, is a radiation counter which we use in modern times. It came from SV, which stands for sievert, and is the standard unit. 1 SV is equal to 1000 MSV, and usually anything below 100 MSV is generally fine. Bananas have 0.0001 MSV, dental x-rays 0.005 MSV, and several treatments are within the same range. You get the idea. Now let's discuss the stages. The prodromal stage represents the first clinical phase of acute radiation syndrome, which is the fancy name for the condition caused by sudden exposure to high doses of ionizing radiation. This stage serves as the body's first immediate response to radiation damage and is characterized by a rapid onset of non-specific symptoms. Typically, the prodromal stage begins within minutes to hours following exposure, particularly when the dose exceeds 1000 millisieverts or 1 SV. The body reacts with a range of early symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, fatigue, and headache. And once you hit the lucky number of anything above 2000 MSV, diarrhea and fever may also occur. Although doses between 100 and 1000 MSV may result in mild or delayed symptoms in some individuals, exposures below 100 MSV rarely triggers this phase. The duration of the prodromal stage can range from a few hours to several days, depending on the dose. Despite being labeled as a temporary phase, the prodromal stage is vital as it shows the likely progression of radiation sickness. The latent stage is the second phase of radiation poisoning. It happens after the early symptoms from the prodromal stage. Now remember everything that I listed earlier. Forget about them. Act like you just got Alzheimer's from this video. During this stage, the person may feel like they are getting better in some cases. They may feel completely normal for a while. However, this stage can be very misleading, since serious damage is still happening inside the body. The length of the latent stage depends on how much radiation the person was exposed to. Since you are dealing with higher doses, let's say over 4000 millisieverts, expect even worse conditions in a few hours or a couple of days. Even though you may look fine and cured on the outside, important systems inside the body like the bone marrow, stomach, and nervous system may be getting worse. The bone marrow, which makes blood cells, begin to shut down. The intestines might also start to break down, making it harder to absorb food and water, but the person won't usually feel these problems right away. Now imagine this, you're looking forward for a vacation after a hard week. You feel great, you think everything is all glitters and sparkles, but once you reach Hawaii, you spend 5 to 6 hours punishing your toilet, while a ukulele is being played in the background to filter the inhumane noises your rectum is making. So yeah, that sums it up. Well, since you're still here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps support the channel and lets me keep making more videos for you. Thanks. Subscribe. The manifest illness stage is the third phase of radiation poisoning. This is when the real damage from radiation starts to show. After the not-so-quiet period of the latent stage, the person begins to feel very sick again. The symptoms now are more severe and depend on how much radiation the person received. At this point, the organs inside the body, like the bone marrow, stomach, and brain, start to fail. If the radiation dose was between 1000 and 4000 millisieverts, the bone marrow is often the most affected. This causes problems like infection, tiredness, and easy bleeding, because the body can make enough blood cells. If the radiation dose is even higher, between 6000 and 30,000 millisieverts, the stomach and intestines start to break down. This can cause severe diarrhea, vomiting, dehydration, and a risk of deadly infections. And at the highly unlikely point that you receive high doses, let's say over 30,000 millisieverts, the brain and nervous system are damaged. People at this level may have confusion, seizures, and go into a coma. Death can happen in just a few hours to days. Now, if you reach this part of the video, you're probably wondering, is there more? Well, good for you. There is one last stage for you to know. The final stage of radiation poisoning is called the recovery or death stage, which based on the name, you probably already figured out what's going down. What happens next depends largely on how much radiation the person was exposed to and how quickly they received medical treatment. If the radiation dose was on the lower side of harmful exposure and the person gets proper care, they may slowly recover. This recovery can take weeks or even months. During this time, the body works hard to repair damaged tissues and rebuild important systems like the bone marrow. However, even after the recovery, some health effects such as increased risk of cancer may remain. Unfortunately, if the dose was very high or if the person does not receive medical help in time, death is common. Death usually occurs because the body organs stop working or because of severe infections and bleeding caused by the loss of blood cells. Your internal organs are turning to slop at this point, so unless you're the doctor from Baki who can regenerate a broken skull that's been shattered to a million pieces back to its original form, well, my friend, as the French say, you're fucked. In summary, this last stage is the point where the outcome of radiation poisoning becomes clear. With lower doses and good medical care, survival and recovery are possible. With higher doses, the damage is often too severe and death inevitably will follow. Now remember, friends, if that place has radiation, don't go there unless you want to undergo medication. I patent that. Yeah, I want to put that on a shirt. Other than that, stay stable.